Okay, you're the hiring manager, CEO, or leader of a company, and you found some promising talents. Now you have to filter them for exceptionalism. Watch this video to learn some strategies for doing exactly that. The important thing here is we're talking about strategies that they can't game. If you look at standardized tests, personality inventories, they will give you some general ideas, but that isn't what we're focusing on here today. What we're focusing on is creating specific filters, specific tasks that qualified people can't game, or more accurately, lesser qualified people can't game, or anybody can't game. They either know how to do it or come up with a solution, or they don't. And that's why this is so powerful. So instead of those standardized tests, which, like I said, if they're standardized, somebody might know them. They might have taken them before. They might have taken some psychology courses so they know the right answers. Or another problem with those standardized tests is what they call demand characteristics, which is just simply they give you the answers they think you want to hear rather than honest answers, or maybe even give the opposite answers of what they honestly believe for the same reason. Any tests like that can be gamed to some degree, and they're not tremendously reliable. But if you give somebody a task, the important thing is for you to create these filters. Can be applied at any stage. This could be pre-interview, interview, or even post-interview, especially if you have them hire them on a temporary sort of work for hire or work test contract. What you need to do, though, is you need to be very specific about what their job is or what skill sets they need for the job. You need to know their tasks, their skills, their aptitudes, and their knowledge that you want to hire them for. Without that, you can't do this next part. And the reason I can only speak in general terms is this would be industry by industry. I'll give some general ideas of how you might be able to do it for some specific industries just off of the top of my head, because that is the only way practically that this can be done in here for your own industry with your own specialty and your own knowledge. Only you could know how to design this test. I could help you, but I would first have to understand what they needed to accomplish and then design backwards from there to make a test that a qualified, or in particular, somebody who is exceptionally talented at what you're trying to detect or the kind of employees you want, what would make it so that it was challenging for the average person, but much more accessible to the exceptional person. So you can filter and detect for that exceptionalism you're looking for in your hiring. The idea is it's a results-based test. So you can apply these at any point. They can even be done remotely for a low cost. But let me give you an example. You could, on a Zoom call, get a whole bunch of chemists or people aspiring to work at your pharmaceutical company or something else. Say, here's some chemicals. You show them the labels. It's all visible to them. Now, in the next 5 minutes, please describe how you would create a buffer using these chemicals. I'm not going to go into what a buffer is because it's not relevant, but the point is a chemist would know what a buffer is, or a qualified chemist in this area would know what a buffer is, and they would know the chemicals by the formulas or even by the colors or the properties they can visibly see in the chemicals, and then could then describe for you how to do what you want them to do. They couldn't plan or rehearse for this kind of a test because they don't know what's coming. Another example may be you put two strings suspended from the ceiling. This is a classic psychology experiment, but you could use the same thing. They can't reach, both strings are say 7, 8, 10 feet apart, and you tell them that these strings, you need to tie these two strings together, but they can't reach both strings. And then you give them some additional items, and a mechanical engineer who is qualified and talented could probably figure out how to do it. Now, that's just one example. Or you give them a variety of pieces of equipment. So let's see here. You give them a thermometer, heat gun, a knife, some hemostats, a lighter, and then you give them some physical materials and you ask them to repair something with what's available. The more items you give them, research shows the less likely they will be able to solve the problem, regardless of their qualification, because the ambiguity of the solution, having more stuff than you need to solve the problem, makes it more difficult. If you give them only the items they need, which let's say is the heat gun and the knife, I'm just using this as an example, those are the only tools they need, and you give them only the available materials required to solve the problem or repair something, then it's far more likely that more people will be able to repair it, because it's like, well, let's see what's available. We have this, this, and this. Here's the item. Oh, okay. But when you introduce more ambiguity into that, that is more available items and even perhaps multiple possible solutions to a problem to do a simple repair on on something. Some people will get it, some people won't. Some people will take repair option A, and some people will take repair option B. The whole point of this kind of a test is to show not some theoretical test, some actual test based on what you need them to do in their jobs, what skills you need them to have in their jobs, and to solve a real world problem. Simple though it may be, even pointless though it may be, the fact that they can solve the problems with those specific materials demonstrates a certain specific set of skills that applies to your industry. You could say, okay, well, we're going to send you a piece of code. We need you to bug fix it in 5 minutes. And I don't know how many lines of code that is. I'm not a coder. But you could give them a problem that defines them as somebody who, if they can fix it, one, who fixed it fastest and who fixed it best, who solved the problem fastest, who solved the problem best. And you could even give them a series of problems like that. Say, okay, you have 30 minutes to solve as many of these problems as you can. When you're finished one, please send the solution to us. We will send you the next problem. The idea is cut the crap about trying to assess something vague, doing the ocean personality test. That's fine. But if you need them to be a rocket engineer, give them rocket problems. Give them simple things that they could solve either remotely or as finalists, have them solve or actually work with real materials for finalists to see the ones that perform best in typical real world scenarios that they might encounter in their job. That way, you're not relying on a test. You're not relying on qualifications. You're relying on objective real world skills, problem solving, and results that they can show you in a limited time under a limited set of circumstances. And also because you use a time variable or some other variable about better solution, worse solution, you can compare them to one another, and you can find by doing this how to filter for exceptionalism. You can filter for exceptionalism by making a custom designed challenge specifically related to the kind of work they will be doing remotely at first, and then in person if necessary, to prove that A, they do know what they're doing, whether they have a PhD or they have high school. If they can crush the problem, then that's somebody you really want to pay attention to as being an exceptional potential talent for you to hire. That's it for Crush It Club episode 106, how to filter for exceptionalism. If you learned something or you found this useful, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks very much. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.